Knock knock and good morning everybody. Here it is me once again, the Starter Stone guy on the Tinterweb. And so if you're out there, pop a message on so that I can see you. I will try and answer you, but you know what I'm like. I always get this twiddly computer stuff all mixed up somehow. But we'll give it a go. So, good morning, everybody out there in Tinterweb world. So, I chose this month to talk about myths and legends, which I suppose is kind of something we covered in another way a little while ago. But I wanted, hello Neshi and hello Polly Joe. And Margaret Spooner. Hello, everybody. And I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, so I wanted to go a little bit, well, deep is not exactly the right word, but, have just another delve and rummage around in the world of myth and legend. Because, well, it's a strange thing, really. We have myths and legends all over the world. Every culture has their own myths, their own legends, but there's a great deal of connection with them all, even from cultures that, as I understand it, never interacted in the distant past. And one of the, well, there's several, I suppose. There's three that are easily, what's the word I'm looking for? Easy examples of this. The first one being dragons. Dragons they have appearances all over the world. Here in Britain and around Europe, Asia, and there are examples in the Americas and Australia. Some might not be termed as dragons, but they fall the way they appear in descriptions and in artwork. They appear to be the same or very similar. So, what is it with dragons that they are everywhere? Really, everywhere. So, and the other thing about them is they all seem to have the same or very similar characteristics. The fact that they have 4 legs, wings, and generally breathe fire. For example, dragons here in Britain are often depicted. Well, you've probably seen a lot of images of dragons. I did sort of collect a few images from around the Tinterweb for the show, but for some reason, I don't know where they've gone. Apparently they're on the computer and they're in the album, but somehow they're not in the album when I'm trying to find them to show you. But anyway, that's by the by. What do I know? It's a computer thing. It mystifies me. Anyway, back to the thing at hand. Dragons, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere. The other one, the second is dragons, unicorns. Unicorns are another creature that is seems to be depicted around the world in various stories from all sorts of different cultures. And it makes me wonder why can these creatures that we know in Britain and Europe, Asia, and across the globe, these creatures are also the same wherever you may. Thank you, Neshi. Why the same creatures crop up everywhere? And then there's fairies, or the fairy, or the grey folk, or the she. There are examples again across the world of these otherworldly beings that sometimes are mischievous, sometimes helpers. They're everywhere. So I've been trundling around the internet and looking at various stories, and just trying to. I mean, I know quite a few myself, but I was looking for ones that I didn't know about. Neshi says good morning to everybody. So where was I going? Well, I've been thinking about this for a long time in lots of different ways. All our stories from around the world. I'm going to come back to this in a minute, actually. Let's just talk about a couple of them. Let's go back to dragons. Now, one of the most enduring stories and legends here in Britain is the story of Arthur and Merlin. And the first vision that Merlin had was for King Vortigern. He was building a tower, a castle at Dinas Emrys in Wales. And the story goes that they kept building this tower, and after a certain point, it continually fell down, and they kept rebuilding, and it kept falling down. It was never completed. And Vortigern consulted his own druids, and Vortigern wasn't a particularly nice king. So, the people he had around him, including the druids, might not have been the nicest of people either, and they came at things in a particularly dark way. So he consulted his druids, and his druids said that the only way to appease the land for having this tower built was to sacrifice a child who had no father. And word came to them of this boy whose father was said to have been a demon. And this boy just happened to be Merlin. Well, just happened, not quite really, but you know what I mean. So, what happened? Well, Merlin was brought to Dinas Emrys, and they were preparing to sacrifice him. And this is when he had his first vision. And the vision was of two dragons deep within the earth fighting, which is why the earth would not be still and the tower always fell down. The red dragon of Wales and the white dragon of the Saxons. And here you go. I did find pictures of these. So the red dragon and the white. So these two dragons were in constant battle with each other for dominance over the land. And so Merlin said, the only way to be able to build your tower was to dig into the earth when you will find a pool. The pool has to be drained and the dragons have to be released. And that's essentially what happened. Merlin actually turned the dragons into pigs and then they departed. And then the tower was built, and then I won't go into the rest of the Merlin story because it's quite a long one. But the dragons of the invading dragon of the invading Saxons was said to have been defeated by the red dragon of Wales, or the Celts rather. So that's one of the big stories over here, and there are lots and lots of stories. So that was, the beginnings of Merlin, and this is why the red dragon is on the Welsh flag. So there's just one example of dragon mythology, but there's plenty of other mythology which let's just dig a little into now. And one of the pictures that I wanted to bring up next was of the Green Man. Who's heard of the Green Man? Drop me a message and let me see. So we have the Green Man. Let's just see if I can find a photo. No, I'm not really sure I'm going to do this, but I'll try. Let's go into that. And this probably won't work, but, we'll give it a go. No, it's not there. Don't know where it's gone. But anyway, the Green Man. I'll just have to or try and describe them for you. Green Man is, in his simplest terms, a nature spirit, a nature god, of the forest, of the trees, of the woodland. And he represents the life and rebirth of the earth every year, of the changing of the seasons. He is a spiritual incarnation of the natural world. There is, in some instances, there is a description and a depiction of the Green Woman, which is his opposite, equal and opposite, the masculine and feminine of nature. So, but again, from what I've been reading, is that there are descriptions and depictions of the Green Man in nature all over the world. I know mine here in Britain, but apparently everywhere else has them as well, which is going to connect into what I was talking about, dragons as well, and fairies and unicorns. So we have, for me, I start to see a pattern here, and this pattern is leading me in a particular direction. But I'm going to pop onto unicorns next. We all pretty much know what a unicorn looks like, do we not? So, a creature Rob's in and popped out because he's really busy at work. But thank you, Rob. Check us out and let us know what you think when you get time. Anyway, where was I? Unicorns. So, again, the same as dragons and the Green Man, we have depictions of unicorns around the world. They, from ancient times, we have, as with all these elements that I'm bringing in, the the references that we've got, or the written references that we have, come from mostly from the Middle Ages onwards, because of the imprint, the invention of the printing press, and then books, and onwards and onwards and onwards, and then more popular modern literature. But unicorns have been around since, as I can ascertain, they've been around forever, as dragons have been around forever, as the Green Man has been around forever. They are creatures of, they're described as creatures of perfect purity. They are the embodiment of magic and innocence and so on. But they are always depicted with a single horn and look pretty much like a horse or a pony, depending on the description you're reading at the time. But they all have that one attribute of the single horn in the center of their head. So where does these come from? I mean, there's another story of it is said that the unicorn, or a unicorn, was the reason why Genghis Khan didn't invade India. The story goes that he had made the decision. I mean, the Genghis Khan had swept across Asia and, swept all before him, and he was deciding whether or not to invade and take over India as well. And so one morning, without his men, he went to view the lands that lay before him. And when he arrived at the point where he reached a point, and before him, he says, stood a strange creature with a single horn. He said it was green. But this is unusual because most unicorns are depicted as pure white. Anyway, this particular one was green. It had green hair and a red and black horn. So he met this creature, which, would take anybody aback, really, even Genghis Khan. So he stands there and he gazes into the creature's eyes, and the creature gazes back into him. And he said he felt that the spirit of his father was within this creature as well. And he looked upon the lands that lay before him and knew that this was the land, and I can't remember exactly how he put it now, but the land of the Buddha and the Buddhist spiritual path. There are other words which I can't pronounce, but anyway, that's by the by. So he looked upon the land, he looked upon the creature, and he felt that the spirit of his father was telling him not to invade because of the land and the Buddha who resided there. So he turned around and went home. So there you go. Even Genghis Khan, the scourge of Asia, can be turned back by a unicorn. So, I mean, I'm sure you can find all these stories told much more eloquently out there on the tinterweb somewhere, but at least you've got a starting point to go from. And there's stories about the unicorn and Noah, various ones. Some of the stories say that the unicorn was left behind. Some say the unicorn elected to stay behind, so that because there wasn't enough room on the ark for that for another creature, so the unicorn gave up its place. Another story says that the unicorn, there was a giant, and a giant tied the unicorn to the side of the ark and rode upon its back. Actually, this was the one where the unicorn was actually enormous. So the giant, I can't remember his name, tied the unicorn to the side of the ark and rode on its back during the flood. So there's lots and lots of stories going back millennia of the unicorn. So this is another piece to the pattern that I have decided that I can see. So what about fairies, or the fairy, or the grey folk, or the she, or the fae folk? They have many names, and those are just a few from Britain and Ireland. The Tuatha I think that was right. The people who live at Tir na Nog, the other world, their lands have many names as well, and they interact with ours in a number of ways. The portals to and from their world are everywhere. Sometimes it's through lakes and rivers, sometimes through caves, sometimes through entrances to the old barrows, the burial mounds. There's lots of ways in and out of their world, although entering their world is often said to lead to one of three outcomes. You will either find wisdom, or you will find madness, or you will find death. You never know. Who knows what you're going to find, but it can be any of those three. So there's always a little bit of trepidation if you were going to enter into their world. So anyway, back to them, back to the fairy, regardless of who you may call them or what names that they have. They are also everywhere, all around the world, with different names, different attributes. Some help, some hinder. Some are mean, some are benevolent. They all have their place, but yeah, it was a slight spelling, but it was close enough. You spelt it better than I do, Neshi. I'm just saying. Anyway, back to my point. The point is this. Yeah, so anyway, so Britain, Ireland, Europe, Scandinavia, Russia, Asia, and the Americas, everywhere have these beings. Now, sometimes you could call them spirits. You could describe them as spirits. You can, in some places they are, but they're still all related and connected in the same kind of family of beings that you can call the fairy. So that's 4 examples now, and I'm really starting to see a pattern. I don't know if you are, but the way I see it is myth, legend, folklore, and stories all have these beings. And I mean, they're they're still here. They're still with us. They're still with us. They, you know, in this allegedly enlightened age of science and technology, I may have a different view of whether we're enlightened or not, but that's a different story, different matter entirely. But they're still with us. They're still part of our consciousness or subconscious. They're part of our culture and psyche. Now, why is this? And why are they everywhere all over the world? The answer that I've come up with, and I'd really like to know whether you agree with me or not, and please tell me if you agree or and why, or disagree and why. Tell me, please. But my take on it is this, is that they are all real. It's not mythology. It's not legend. We know them because they were here. And I still say that they are still here somewhere. Perhaps they are residing in the other world, waiting for their moment to return to us because we can accept them again. Our age of technology and enlightenment and science, we are all told and told again over and over that all these beings cannot exist. They've never existed, and on and on and on and on and on. But what if they are real? What if they have always existed? That's what I think. That they are real. That's the point of this particular show, is to make that suggestion that the stories we hear, the legends of Arthur and Merlin, the legends of Native America, the legends of Europe and Russia and Scandinavia, Australia, they're not just stories, they're history. Now, you see, how does that work? Says everybody at me. Well, we have yes, that's a good way of looking at it. Very good way. There would be a higher vibration. They would be a higher vibration, so they would not exist for those in the lower vibrations. Very good way of looking at it. Very good way of looking at it. Again, kind of connects with what my thoughts of that's where they're living currently in the other world. That world being of a different vibration, so it all fits. I kind of lost my train of thought somewhere along the line there as well. I'll come back in a minute, probably, maybe, who knows. Oh yeah, I remember where I was now. So the history that we have, the written history that we have, isn't that old. It really isn't. The historical manuscripts that we have go back a few thousand years. I know there are artifacts of ancient antiquity that we have deciphered and discovered over the years. I'm thinking of the cuneiform tablets, the hieroglyphs in Egypt, and I can't remember what they call them now, but all the depictions on the step pyramids in various locations in South America, which are hugely older than, well, at least I think they are. I'm sure there's all sorts of things from out the centuries. But anyway, but our written histories are not that old, a few hundred years. There are scrolls of a couple of thousand years, maybe more, that people find that, almost turn to dust if you touch them. But what about beyond then? We used to relate our histories orally, passed down through stories, through songs, and we've lost much of that. And much of the stories, especially here in Britain, have been forgotten. I say they're not lost, I say they're forgotten. I feel that they have the stories that we had are still remembered by the land, and the songs that we've forgotten are still remembered by the wind and the sky. And one day we're going to remember and learn, and I'm sure people already know how, to listen again to the land and the sky, to bring those stories back, bring the songs back, so that we can tell them again and sing them again. I'm sure they're there. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise. Just because I can't hear them right now doesn't mean to say somebody can't. Anyway, that's another thing. So, yes, the oral traditions and the time that we spent here on the earth, living here, is a lot older. We've been here a lot longer than our written documents would can tell us. Yeah, the science that is behind everything, the archaeology, only has so much to go on. Nothing's complete. So just because science hasn't seen it yet doesn't mean to say it's not there. Think of, I'm going to delve into the realms of physics now, but the last few years at CERN, they discovered the Higgs boson. Now, I don't understand all this completely, but apparently when whatever his name is, Higgs, proposed the existence of this particle, he was ridiculed, and then they found it. So science doesn't know everything until it actually sees it. I don't need to see something to feel within that something is real. And I think that's one of the points of everything, really, is to let go of a certain amount of the intellectual to reconnect more fully within the spiritual and with the natural. We sometimes think ahead of ourselves in many ways. Something cannot exist because I cannot see it. I can't see Mars right now, but apparently it's there. So it's a similar thing. Just because a being hasn't been seen by somebody recently still doesn't mean to say that being doesn't exist. What do you lot think? Have we got any more comments down here? Nope. So let me know what you think. You know, I mean, there are more local beings like the griffin, which was Greece and Egypt, I believe. The body and hind legs of a lion with the wings, a head, and talons of an eagle. That's a pretty cool one. Gargoyles from France. So there are some beings that were local to a particular region, and others that have been all over the world. And I just cannot get my head around a reason why, if these beings all will have been depicted all over the world, why the people all over the world hadn't seen them somehow. Because normally, as I understand it, people related what they saw to other people within the cave art that has been discovered, which is however many thousands of years old. People depicted what they saw. So they must have seen dragons at some point. What do you lot think? Nice people out there. Well, anyway, what time is it? I've been rattling on for a while. I've got 20 minutes yet. So what else is going on? I don't know, really. I just feel that we need to let go of thinking that a mythology is a pretty story. I mean, this is why I feel that children relate to these stories of dragons and fairies and unicorns better than adults do, because they're not as encumbered by having to reason it out. They are more accepting, they're more open to the world. So maybe we should be more like them and just trust more in what's out there, whether we can see it or not. So that's my thoughts for the day. Let's just be open to the experiences of the other world, to the experiences. I mean, what's to say? Let's just, for example, say that we all go for a walk in the forest, in the woods somewhere, and what's to say that we won't meet a unicorn? If we're open to the fact that they are real, then perhaps we have a better chance of seeing one, or a dragon, or a fairy, or meeting the green man, especially in the forest. be open to that. And like I said last month, when you're open to the existence of magic, magic does tend to show up, and especially in the most unexpected of times and places. It's just there, I think, in a way, I suppose they're waiting for us to let go of our certainty in all things. Yes, I think maybe that letting go of our certainty. What do you think? Anyway, so what else? Yes, I'm really sorry I couldn't find the pictures for you, because there's another couple that I wanted to bring up. There is Cernunnos. He's here, one of the horned gods. He's depicted on the Gunderstrup cauldron. That was a cauldron discovered. Yeah, I can't remember when, but it was in Europe, and that was it's one of the big Celtic artifacts. Spectacular thing. I have seen it. Then there's Herne the Hunter. Some say he is the same. Some say he is a different being, but all related to nature. Which, a lot of these myths and legends, which are really real, everything is connected with nature and the natural world, if you notice. So it's our reconnecting with that world, and I feel that our world is really needing us to reconnect with it. I think possibly maybe that those beings that have stayed with us within our, shall I call it, use the collective memory phrase. Should I use that? Should I use psyche? I don't know. I'm just a guy living on the east coast of Britain, just thinking about things. I'm not a great intellectual. I am not hugely learned in all things. I'm just myself. So what I know barely amounts to a teaspoonful of knowledge. But what I feel, that's a different matter. I feel the presence of beings. I feel the presence of spirits in the forest. I feel the land and the sky and the wind and the sea, the spirits that are around, beings that are there and not there. Just presence of presence. And I think we need to do that more around our world. I think that need to reconnect with the earth and the sky has been growing for a long time. I think we've been told many things by many people. Many people? Actually, no, not really when you think about it. The people that, shall we say, are in control, we get told many things, and we get told that we should think and feel and believe in a particular way. And we've been told that for a long time. And I think our spirits, our souls and our bodies and our minds have been needing and are beginning to change, to reconnect with our world. And that the dragons and the green man and the unicorns and the fairies are the ones that are really leading us towards that connection. What do you think? What do you think about that? Anybody got any ideas of their own? Am I wrong? Am I right? I don't know. I just know what I feel. So, come on, everybody. If you're out there, let me know what you think. Tell me. But, yes. Let me see. Can I bring up any of those pictures? I'm really sorry about that. Nope. No, I did that wrong. Yeah. No, everything seems to have disappeared somehow. Like I say, computers mystify me, so. Let me just see if I get rid of that one and that one. Because I really wanted to bring up Cernunnos and the Green Man for you. Because I think... No, they're still not there. Oh, I don't know. Computers. Well, you know what they say. To err is human. To really mess things up, you need a computer. But that actually, this just made me think about something else that popped into my head. We have a lot of modern technology. We've used technology in many ways over the centuries and millennia. I mean, starting with a wheel, you know, we don't think about it now, but it was high tech back in the way back when. Wheels and carts and bows and arrows, axes, and now we're using computers. Now, when we've often said that an object from the past, maybe it's a bow, maybe it's an axe, maybe it's some other kind of tool, you can feel the energy of it. You can feel there's an energy, a power to it. You know, it's said. You know, we could say that it gets imbued with its own spirit. What about this new stuff? All these super high tech thingies that we've all got in our homes, TVs and computers and and everything. Did they have a spirit too? Do we imbue them with one when we make something? When we use it continually, does it become imbued with its own spirit? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know. So, where are we on the time? 10 minutes. We've got 10 minutes to go. So, I would like to ask you for. I keep seeing I've got comments, but yeah, no. Anyway, that's okay. There's some. Right. Right. I've found. Where is it? Right, here we go. Comments that I didn't see because it's a computer and I get confused. So, I also believe, Neshi, why we need storytellers, the next generations, to hear that. Yes, absolutely, Neshi. That's a very good point. We need to tell stories. We. It's all well and good being able to sit ourselves and our kids in front of the TV and get distracted for an evening or a day or a week. TV's evil. It doesn't have to be. It's got some good stuff on it, but as something that distracts you from doing things that you really feel you should be doing or want to be doing or need to be doing, yeah, it's one of those things. Another one from Neshi. My grandfather used to tell us that the Sasquatch was real and lived in clans. To leave them alone as if they want to show us themselves, they would. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Sasquatch, Yeti. Um, Again, are they related? What do you think? They seem to be, the descriptions seem to suggest that they are related somehow, but one from North America and the other from the Himalayan region. Completely different areas, but with a very similar story. Margaret's telling me it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, it's what you feel, and then that's right for you. So, yeah. Here's another one from Nesha. Yes, everything has a consciousness, a spirit. Indeed. Even, yeah. So, yes. So, I mean, I suppose in many ways I could be described as preaching to the choir on this show because I suppose most of us here do share a similar perspective on many things. So in that way, am I just simply trying to encourage us all, including myself, to say it more often to more people? There's always going to be somebody that doesn't want to hear it and calls us foolish. But that doesn't mean to say that I shouldn't actually say what I want to say, because I truly believe it. I truly believe that in many things, I truly believe in dragons and unicorns and fairies and the Green Man and Cernunnos. I believe the earth is our mother, and you know, she is desperately trying to help us back onto a truer path. I truly believe that all of life throughout the whole universe is connected. I truly believe all of these things. Have I pressed a button by mistake? Can anybody still hear me? Or have I gone? No, I think I'm still here. Maybe. Anyway, I'm just going to keep rattling on for a few more minutes until it's time. So, see, computers mystify me. Where was I? So I truly believe in all these things, and that we're all interconnected, and we're all trying to find our way. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Sometimes I'm never quite sure. I'm never quite sure. Well, I am sure. I'm sure I'm right here, right now. But what was I saying? As long as you're honest with yourself about what you truly, truly believe, it doesn't really matter whether anybody else is willing to hear it or not, because in the saying of it, hang on a minute, no, I'm just wondering if I'm going too far down the wrong road with that. Yes, maybe. I suppose, yeah, I suppose you got to be a little bit careful really with that, because many people have truly believed many things over the centuries, and it's led to horrific events. So I'm going to reevaluate what I'm saying. I can truly believe it for myself. And if anybody wants to hear, then I will tell them. And if they don't want to believe it, then that's fine. If they want to explore it for themselves, that is fine also. Perhaps that's a better way of thinking. Yes. How about the myth about the Hope Diamond that it is cursed? Maybe it is. But I didn't do it. So I wonder why it's cursed. I'm going to have to look that one up. I've heard of it, and I've heard of the curse, but I don't know that much about it. So I'm going to dig into that one and have a look. Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. I wonder who did and why. But it still wasn't me. Honest. Anyway, we're rapidly approaching the top of the hour, as it is called. So, is there anything for next month you would like to talk about, or you'd like me to rattle on about? If there is, answers on a postcard, please. Or you can just leave a comment on the show page, which is there somewhere. So if there's anything you want to dig into next month, let me know, and we will dig into it. And if I find the pictures that I found on the Tinterweb for Kernanus and the Green Man that I was going to bring up, then I'll post them as well. Druid, there we go. Nessie says, Druid, read more, please. Okay, job done. We'll do that then. So on that note, have a glorious and wondrous day, and we shall see you next month, and I will talk about Druidry, because that's my thing. So have a wonderful, wonderful day. May it be blessed and calm. And I will see you next month. So for now, I shall see you soon, and good evening. And thank you for your comments, and I will see you next month. Bye, everybody.